Invite viewers to post their location and local time. Then picture Naomi Bell driving home down that ragged strip of back road that snakes through Millstone Hollow, the sun bleeding out behind the pines, the kind of twilight where the air tastes like dust and grudges never die. Her boy Jalen clutches his inhaler in one hand and a crumpled drawing of their battered old farmhouse in the other, eyes darting between his mama's tight jaw and the rolling cotton fields. Folks around here say the crows on the fence posts are just birds, but Naomi's always thought they look like judges, watching, remembering every sin. Then those red and blue lights bloom in the rear view siren, just the slow-rolling pressure that squeezes all the air from the car. Deputy Colin Rayburn, tall, broad, mid-40s, dead-pond eyes, and a jaw that only ever seems to set for a fight. He's hated the Bells for years, ever since they stopped playing by Millstone Hollow's rules, the unwritten ones about where black families belonged and how quiet they should keep. He taps the window like it owes him money, voice oily as an over-fried hushpuppi. Didn't think I'd see your kind out this late. Historians still argue whether the phrase, your kind, was invented by lawmen or just perfected by them. Naomi keeps her chin high, says they're coming back from the hospital. But Rayburn's not after answers, after control. He circles to Jalen's side, throwing out barbs about cousins who talk back and didn't end well. When Naomi tells him enough's enough, he slaps the roof hard enough to make them both jump, says this is his road, his rules. Then his hand drifts to his gun like a bad habit. What happens next feels ripped from her mother's worst warnings. He yanks open the door, cold fingers digging into her arm, hauls her out into the dust, then drags Jalen too, their inhaler tumbling away. From his cruiser, he produces a length of old iron chain, heavy and stained, and before Naomi can beg, it's looped around both their necks. He hisses, "Let's go for a walk, Bell family," and pulls them toward the barn, gravel grinding underfoot. Quirky side fact. In medieval France, iron chains were sometimes blessed by priests before being used on prisoners. No such luck here. Inside the barn, it's all hay dust and shadows that smell like fear older than anyone alive. Rayburn forces them to the ground, choking them with each pull of the chain, voice dripping with a century of hate. Naomi's vision swims. Jalen's gasping turns ragged, but she bites his arm hard enough to taste blood, drawing a howl. He strikes her, wraps the chain tighter, until finally shoving them aside. "Know your place," he spits, slamming the barn door and leaving them in darkness, tangled on the floor, ghosts pressing close. Miles away, David Bell turns his truck down the drive, headlights sweeping across the porch and freezes at the sight of a crooked mailbox, a chain coiled like a snake, and a crushed inhaler in the dirt. The Marine in him wakes up before the husband can even scream. He runs for the barn. David bursts into the barn like a storm, boots pounding, hands ripping the chain from Naomi and Jalen. His voice stays low, almost gentle, but every move is surgical, one arm around his wife, the other freeing his boy. Jalen's lips are blue until the inhaler is pressed to his mouth, each wheeze fading into a little more breath, a little more life. Naomi's shaking but upright, and when she rasps Rayburn, David's jaw locks hard enough to crack stone. They get inside, lock the doors, but the Marine's mind is already moving. Check the footage, find the threat. On the cameras, he watches Rayburn ransack their home, sneering at family photos, spitting on medals, brushing a hand over the Barrett M95 like it's just a trophy. He doesn't notice the lens blinking in the corner. Quirky tidbit. That Barrett weighs about 20 pounds. Historians still argue whether it's more intimidating as a weapon or as home decor. David takes the rifle from the wall, the oath he made overseas echoing in his head. Never let evil go unanswered. Out in the orchard, Rayburn's limping, blood from Naomi's bite soaking his hand. David intercepts him in silence, sighting the scope so fast it's muscle memory. "You think you're man?" Beating on women and kids in the dark. The reticle finds Rayburn's forehead, but Naomi's voice cuts through the night. "Don't. Not in front of Jalen." Control wins out. David shifts aim, fires once. The shot drills Rayburn's thigh, dropping him screaming in the mud. That should have been the end, but in Millstone Hollow, hate had a long shelf life. At the sheriff's office, Howard Wickses pulls a thick folder marked blood lineage network of men who've kept order by force for generations. Rayburn, humiliated, demands they finish the bells. Wickses talks about bringing in the old guard, and one name freezes the room: Snake. Not a nickname you get for rescuing kittens. Before dawn, Snake moves through the fog toward the Bell farmhouse. No sound, no breath, a pistol in hand. Naomi's in the pantry with Jalen when the door creaks open. Snake whispers, "End of the line." But David's counted the steps 4 to the pantry. 2 right, then pause, and he lunges from the shadows, knocking the gun aside. The fight is brutal. Elbows and knees in the dark, a knife flashing before David pins him. Names. Locations. Snake tries to smile. "You're already too late, theory, moving the kids now." Naomi's voice cracks, but cuts like steel. "Where?" The answer chills the air. The old lumber mill in the East Woods. Cages in the basement. Trucks leaving before dawn. David doesn't waste breath. Snake goes in front, pistol to his back, Naomi and Jalen close behind. Pastor Vic meets them at the tree line. Inside the mill, bleach and sweat choke the air. Bare bulbs swing over iron cages where 7 black children huddle. Malik, Faith, and others too scared to speak. Pete and Travis, bandaged from last night, freeze when they see David. "Drop it," he says, and the shotgun clatters to the floor. Naomi's already at the locks. Snake throws her the keys with a bitter laugh. "Backup's coming." Pastor Vic ushers the kids out. Malik whispers they were threatened. Faith's face is streaked with blood. Naomi holds her close, promising no one will hurt her again. David films everything: the cages, the graffiti, the files on a back table with names circled in red. Tires crunch outside. Sirens are getting closer. Snake lunges for the door, but David slams him down. "Not tonight." They leave with the children into a rising storm, the mill smoldering behind them, every secret leaking into the rain. By sunrise, word is spread like brush fire. They have proof. On the church steps, Naomi sets Pastor Vic's memory card beside printouts of names and faces. Every missing black child Millstone Hollow ever tried to forget. David's battered camcorder holds hours of horror from the lumber mill. The square fills mothers clutching protest signs older than their children, elders in Sunday best, a few white neighbors hanging back, but watching, the air heavy with old silence breaking. She speaks, voice steady, calling it what it is: America's sickness, not just the South's. Then the projector throws the images up: kids in cages, bruised faces, deputies slinging slurs. The hush lasts 3 heartbeats, then outrage floods the square. Pastor Vic reads each name aloud like a tolling bell. Reporters swarm, microphones thrust forward. Quirky-aside historians still argue whether it's the image or the voice that topples regimes first, but both are working overtime here. Sheriff Wickses pushes through with his deputies, barking to seize the evidence, arrest the bells. The crowd closes ranks, mothers locking arms. A flare hisses red smoke into the air. Reporters broadcast live as chaos unfolds. Then the cavalry black SUVs and armored trucks, federal agents in blue windbreakers. A DOJ woman steps past Wickses without a glance. "Step aside, Sheriff." By noon, the town's under federal control. In a canvas tent-turned courtroom, Agent Arthur Jones lays it out: every witness, every confession, every missing child, now a federal case. Wickses tries to bribe his way out and gets cuffed on live TV. Rayburn paces a holding cell, eyes darting, until Jones calls his name. In interviews, the bloodline cracks. Wickses admits to decades of cover-ups. Pete and Travis spill about the abductions. Snake leads agents to a hidden orchard where bones are found. Finally, Rayburn folds, naming judges, deputies, even businessmen. The trial in Jackson is packed. Naomi testifies first, recounting the chains, the barn, the terror. The defense tries to paint her as combative. She answers that resistance was survival. She holds up Jalen's battered inhaler for the jury to see. David follows, describing the sniper's choice to cripple, not kill. Parents of missing children rise one by one, their grief now official record. The prosecution plays David's footage, The FBI lays out confessions, and the defense's table sinks into silence. When the day's done, the old guard is shackled, the network exposed. Outside, the courthouse steps are crowded not with fear, but with a cautious kind of pride. Naomi stands with David and Jalen, Pastor Vic behind them, the rescued children nearby. The town isn't healed, scars run deeper than any verdict, but the walls of silence are gone. In the slow wind down of the evening, the pacing eases, voices lower, the imagery softens. The floodlights dim over the courthouse lawn, leaving only the warm amber glow from the church windows across the square. People speak in murmurs now, hands on shoulders, the kind of quiet that feels earned. Naomi watches Jalen laugh a small, tired laugh at something Faith says, and for the first time in too long, her own smile finds its way through. David leans close, his voice a low whisper meant only for her. They can't put this back in the dark. Above them, the stars are faint but steady, old witnesses to new promises. Somewhere beyond the courthouse, the fields breathe under the night air, carrying away the smoke, the sirens, the echoes of chains hitting the floor. Whatever comes next will come, but for now, Millstone Hollow sleeps under the same moon as the rest of the world watched, recorded, and no longer silent.